Chicago Bulls snap a 4-game losing streak, coming back to beat the Atlanta Hawks by 12. Let's talk about some of the key takeaways from this particular game, some interesting things that we've got to see from this team, and let's talk about some ways in which we could carry this type of momentum over into the next game coming up on Monday against the Cavaliers. Let's do all that and more right after this. Listen, if you're new to the channel, this is the Chicago Bulls Breeze. This is your boy P Kid talking all things Chicago Bulls. Let's get into it, man, because this game, I'm going to be honest with you. At first, I thought this game was going to be a little bit of the same old by halftime, and then the fourth completely shocked me. It's very competitive third, but the fourth is where everything kind of shaped up and we totally dominated. So let's get into it real quick, because the Atlanta Hawks have been one of those teams where they aren't good enough for me to say that they always have our number, but it always tends to be a crapshoot. And it always tends to be a crapshoot when it comes down to two specific things. One, three-point shooting, because we weren't a really good three-point shooting team. So let's be honest. But today we outshot them from three. We also took more threes than they did, which is shocking considering that Trae Young typically only takes threes. But I digress, right? So we not only shot more threes than they did, but we actually made them at a healthy clip. 33 is respectable. Not great, it's respectable. And rebounding. And I don't know if many people know this, but we tend to get dominated. We used to get dominated in the paint a lot when it came to rebounds, and not so much this game. So those right there shocked the mess out of me. And then the other things I saw that was just completely beautiful is we have 4 people nearly at 20 points. 4. Now, I want y'all to understand, we typically don't see that. Y'all watch the games like I watch the games, baby. We don't typically see that. But not only did we get 4 people close to 20 points, most of them shot well from the field. I would assume he has 19 points this game. He was 7 of 10 from the field. He was a 70% from the field. Talk about efficiency. Zach LaVine, 7 of 12. Now, I don't know exactly what that breaks down to, but it was more than 50%. Kobe White had a tough game, but he took a lot more threes than everybody. I make room for that, because when you take a lot more threes, it's a lower percentage shot. But he was 6 of 14, slightly under 50%, and Vooch was 8 of 13. Again, over 50%. We had an efficient game. As a team, we shot 50% from the field. And so to have that type of contribution and things of that nature, even if for some of these people it came through late, was beautiful in that sense. And I love the fact that a lot of it happened within a flow of a game. I had to look, when I looked up, I was like, oh, like I was conscious of the fact that Io was getting busy. I was conscious of the fact that Zach had his moments. I was conscious of the fact that Vooch was getting busy, in my opinion. By the way, not a triple-double, but double-double, 18 points, 12 rebounds, always doing his thing down there. I was conscious of it, but it was like, yo, this is really good pacing from all of these individuals. And it showed me that there was no ego involved. And I want to take this a little further and say not only was it no ego, it was from one particular person that I thought would take this game and want to insert his dominance and stuff like that. And Zach LaVine didn't come in and gun. He didn't gun this game. And he's actually taken a different approach to the season period that I'm really delighted by. At moments where 3 wasn't working, he didn't sit there and force a bunch of them up. Now, he did go 1 for 5. But I've seen Zach go 1 for 9, just like Kobe White has gone 2 for 9 in this game. And he will keep taking them. There was no need to. And he didn't. I see him being a willing passer, which doesn't get talked about enough. A lot of times we sit there and we trash Zach LaVine for the shots that he takes. And people can say he doesn't drive much. He's settling for threes and stuff like that. But when he's making plays for others, he's doing the right things on the court. It's all of a sudden crickets. I'm not going to be that person. Zach LaVine actually did, especially in the second half, played well. Willing passer, got the ball out. And it was beautiful to see. It was beautiful to see that wealth be spread across so many people. Now, there are a couple other standouts here. The ones you already know, we here in Chicago, we always love the bench mob. But Jalen Smith in his 17 minutes to put up 10 points, 2 of 5 from the three, 4 of 10 from overall from the field. But to see what he did in 17 minutes, I'm loving what he does for the Chicago Bulls. I think it was a crazy pickup for us, and we've got to I lean into that a little more. Got to lean into that a little more. Julian Phillips himself getting busy. Listen, 4 of 8, 50% from the field, getting busy on the boards too, chipping in there. Everyone chipped in on the boards, and I love to see it. Hey, even P. Will, who was like, we've always joked about him being a career three rebounds a game, giving us 7, 5 on the 5 defensive on the defensive end. So getting after it. Love to see it, man. We love to see it. Now, I will say this was one of our better games. I do like the fact that even though at moments it did seem like the game was slightly getting away from us, being down 10, I think at 1.12, maybe a little more. The fight was there and it was evident, and it was clear that we were putting a lot of pressure on. Putting a lot of pressure on Trae Young, chasing him off the 3-point line and not giving him a lot of space. That's really important there, because what makes Trae Young so dangerous is not only does he take a lot of threes, but he does make them at a decent clip. Most of his field goal percentage, when you break down his numbers, you might say, well, he's not highly efficient, but if you look at the amount of threes that he takes per game, you kind of see how that levels out a little bit. And it's like, okay, well, if threes make up the majority of his shot attempts, well, he's going to have a lower percentage overall than someone who takes a lot of layups or mid-range and things of that nature. And so the Chicago Bulls did not allow him to get comfortable in that situation. Now, he still made plays, don't get me wrong. And there's still something that we need to watch out for, but we were able to overcome that in the second half and sustain it. I'm not going to kick a team that just snapped a 4-game losing streak and getting things together, especially when we just got Zach LaVine back and we saw, hey, team looks a lot better when they all clicking and all on the same page. And when you don't have someone like Zach LaVine who could be a 20 to 25 point per game scorer, hey, you might slide some games realistically. And so, I think that Minnesota Wolves game looks totally different with Zach LaVine in the lineup. I think the way we play it is totally different. And you kind of saw that here with the Chicago Bulls and how certain things were played and things of that nature, even defensively. So I will say, I say all that to say it was good to see. It was good to put the attention on Trae Young, get him off that line. It was even good to make others, in my opinion, scores. Now, their others did score. Let's not make it seem as if they did. Clint Capella is not known to be a monster offensively, but 20 points, nearly 10 rebounds. You had an assist in there, crazy. Trae Young still had 14 points, 16 assists, like getting busy. You got Johnson over there getting 20. Like realistically, their others did play relatively well. They just didn't shoot well from 3, and that's the biggest thing. They take a lot of threes. They didn't make a lot of threes, and we were able to chase Trae Young off the 3. Now, some people would disagree with that chase him off the 3-point line comment, but when I watched the game, I've been watching it specifically, like how we can kind of contain him. They didn't give him enough space to sit there and take a lot of wild shots or wild threes, and he didn't take a lot of them. And you can see from the aspect that he only took 6. What that actually means. For him to only take 6 threes, considering how his game is played, and for him to play nearly 40 minutes, you did a good job trying to contain him. Good players, great players in his league are going to find a way to be productive, and he did, but we took away his main threat, and that is nice. That is good to see. And overall, if we want to keep it a buck, it really wasn't so much of our starters and their starters, because if you look at that, it's almost relatively even, give or take some points. But our bench was better than their bench. The production that we got from Dalen Terry, even though 14 minutes, 9 points, made himself useful, made himself impactful. Jalen Smith, I praised him, 10 points. Phillips made himself impactful, 10 points. And Ayo Dosunmu, 19 points. Our bench was better than their bench. And that was necessary. That's what you needed to see. And realistically, as we get further and further into the season, I hope to see more of it. I hope to see more of this balanced scoring and not something that's going to be so lopsided, because I don't believe we're good enough to actually sustain it. It doesn't, the way that this has all worked, Zach may not be a number one in everyone's opinion, but if he's not, I don't know who else is on this particular team. So with that being the case, if we want to sit there and take these things by committee, want to sit there and make sure we get everyone involved and look more like and there's nothing wrong with this, look more like the New York Knicks and how they approach it. Sometimes Jalen Brunson is the one that's going completely nuts, and he has the ability to, and we've seen him do it. But there's some games where he's a little high double digit, like, you know what I'm saying, like 16, 18 points at sometimes, and everyone else is actually getting busy and the wealth is spread. It doesn't matter. Everyone does. And I think this is going to be the season when no one's really chasing those accolades on scoring, but they want to get those wins. And so if the Bulls are able to take that approach, be able to have balanced scoring top down, we can compete with anybody. But if we want to sit there and take it's my team, it's this, that, and the other, and want to pit people against each other, we ain't going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. But it was good to see. All in all, I saw good basketball being played. Did I want us to start off a little hotter or get things under control a little sooner? Yeah, sure. But I can't sit there and say anything about a team who came out in the second half, smacked the opponent in the mouth, and dominated all the way through and capped it off with a crazy fourth quarter. I want to hear your thoughts, man. Listen, it was crazy for me. I love what I saw. What did you see? Listen, whether it's love, whether it's hate, put in the chat. I'll be in there with you. Till next time. Peace.